It's interesting that extreme things look pretty in the human mind, like extreme nature,
Yeah.
extreme things.
I wonder why.
And I wonder why as we get older, we're so grateful for like ordinary, simple.
No, no. The wisdom of aging is that we get to
That's the name of our
appreciate.
third book.
Yeah, we've got so many self-help books. Everyone together, and we're going to burn them because that's my goal. Is I really want to have a self-help book burning, because
Yeah. How about on the summer solstice, June 21st?
Ooh, oh yeah,
We should release
oh
this
yeah,
episode on June 21st.
yeah, and I love that. I will send out a thing. We will do a book
Self-help
burning.
book burning.
Self-help book burning. Yeah, this is going to be fantastic, and you can do it wherever you are. And
You all have to do Cobra Pose while you burn it.
Okay, okay, that's a new level to it. We were just talking about self-help books, and I don't know about you, but I have found in the wellness industry that I often buy books or go to workshops where they just say that if I truly believed in my inner divine self, everything would be fine. So I can do whatever I want, except I'm in the way of me.
I think there's a lot of preying on vulnerability, and there's a lot of sincere seeking in this world, and then a lot of books that just drown us into ever deeper levels of introspection, and not in an embodied way necessarily, and that's not as helpful.
Not in an embodied way, and also not just being friends with yourself where you are. Just try to be friends with yourself, and that's fine.
Yeah.
That's good enough.
Right, just like lessening the stakes, I think, just taking the stakes down. And I think when you have to write an entire book about something, people then have to push their initial idea to such extremes and have it be complete. And pretty soon they're talking about like the environmental fate of the entire planet hinging on you figuring your shit out. And it's just too much.
Okay, yeah. I feel like it's once I realized my true purpose in life and I got completely clear with that, and that inspired all of my actions, I was able to manifest complete abundance. And now
Lies.
lies.
Selling a product.
Yeah, yeah,
How to save yourself by paying me.
yeah.
It's really bad, but there's a little sliver of truth in there. There's a lot of snake oil. There's a long history of snake oilsmanship in yoga.
I know. There's actually snake oil in everything. We should not limit it to yoga because there's a lot of snake oil, like in real estate, in financial instruments, in, well, probably everything.
Yeah. And Gabriel used to say something like, there's charlatans because there's real gold. There is something in the yoga practice for sure, but then lots of hucksters try to capitalize on that and sell you easy access to that, or just buy my book and you'll have it. And it's just not as simple as that. This practice is only available through the toil of decades.
The suffering.
Are you signing up for toil?
It's the suffering.
Let's toil through a yoga practice.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Because, hi, I'm Jane, and
I'm Sarah.
This is great, and we're yoga posers, and we're going to try to sell you some snake oil here.
Literally for Cobra. It's so perfect. It ties in.
It does. Yeah, Cobra. Serpent. Bhujangasana. And, the serpent, first of all, it's my spirit animal. I had my Akashic records read, and they gave me the serpent. Well, they told me it was a serpent, and I was like, oh, shit. I wanted something, I don't know, like a unicorn.
Like a dove.
Unicorn or a dove would be good. But the serpent's really good.
Yeah, that's an amazing one.
Yeah, it's really powerful. It sheds its skin. It gets to rebirth and start anew. And it's also the base of that Kundalini energy. And this cobra has that same thing. It's about releasing that energy. There's like goddess vibes to it. So I now accept the serpent.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
Yeah.
That's super interesting because I was actually at a retreat with Gabriel and we had a led meditation to envision our spirit animal, which I had never done before. And I was young and impressionable. And I envisioned a jungle floor and there was a green snake slithering in its side to side motion along the floor.
So we're both serpents.
Yeah.
But yeah, the pose we're talking about today is Bhujangasana Cobra Pose. And
You're slithering on the ground.
slithering on the ground, but you also are coming forward. You're pulling yourself out of the skin, and you've got the head of the cobra, which is your head and neck, and it's a belly back bend, and it's hard.
Yeah, people aren't thrilled about returning to tummy time.
I love that. Yeah, we don't like it when we're a baby, and we don't like it when we're an adult, and especially given that the predominant pattern that most of us have is forward facing. It's not back bends.
Right.
So we're talking about that, and we're going to also touch upon the common complaints. And the first one is dumping in my low back. Second one is this is killing my neck and my wrists, and I can't breathe in it.
I think anytime there's a pose with a large part of your body on the ground, the muscular energy of the pose dissipates greatly. So people relax once they're on the floor, push up using their arms, and crank into the back bend where you back bend the most easily, low back and neck.
Yeah, low back and neck. And that reminds me, this pose is contraindicated for people who are pregnant.
Dog instead,
yeah.
or do your hands on the wall, standing cobra.
Yeah,
So many things go out the door when
you're pregnant.
yeah. Sorry, I can't do that anymore. I couldn't even do a lunge when I was pregnant.
Really?
Yeah, I just felt like my pelvis was going to rip in half.
Ouch. That would stop you. Okay.
I guess I'm not doing lunges anymore.
So,
I don't think that would happen.
Sarah, why don't you start taking us through what the pose, aspirationally, what's the pose look like? What is it?
Importantly, the pelvis is on the floor. So I think people tend to either lift the pelvis. They're somewhere between up dog and cobra, never really distinguishing between the two.
That's actively in the ground. You're supposed to be connecting to the earth with your pelvis.
Yeah, and just the upper part of the body is lifting like a cobra might
Yeah.
in anticipation of seeing something in front of it. So you're reaching out long through the legs. And I love this idea of slithering forward. There's a lengthening to the pose,
Yeah.
which, again, anytime you're in a pose where there can be compression, we want to bring length to the spine.
Yeah.
So you're using your hands to pull back against the floor to help you pull forward through the gateway of your arms, and then reaching back through the legs in the opposite direction.
I always like the idea of trying to bring my whole rib cage and lengthen my waist. It's like the pelvis is the base, and then can I pull that rib cage away from the pelvis and then arc it up,
Yeah.
you know?
And that side body long is a shorthand for that kind of general principle in yoga is very helpful here. We're always trying to increase the space between the pelvis and the rib cage because that's the place of the greatest compression.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I forgot to mention that one is one of the complaints is the shoulders, right? Because the shoulders here, we want the shoulders to be on our back. We want our chest to be open because it is a back bend. If you can think of how you're trying to feel when you're in bridge pose, it's that same feeling of broad collars, the shoulder blades down your back. And I always think of the shoulder blades almost like the lower tip is trying to help lift your heart up. It's like pressing in and up towards your heart. And then the neck's always tricky because people somehow forget that it's just part of the spine and they either bend it or they lift their chin up because they want to feel like they're getting really far and then they just get a big kink in the back of their neck.
Yeah, people either go too high or too low. And
Yeah.
it just should be a continuation of the rest of the back bend. You're sensing the whole position of the spine.
I also never start with this pose. I'll start with Sphinx pose. I've also started with lifting up the back body without your hand because this is a pose that's supposed to be primarily taking advantage of the strength in your back body. It's not supposed to be like a push-up. You're really not supposed to be elevating through the arms, although you do, right? The arms are supposed to help support the back doing the work. So it's really good for strengthening the back of the core.
Whenever we press into the hands, we're going to be activating your pecs through the biceps, the inner arm, and then that activates the abdominals, which are the muscles that tend to drop out the fastest in this pose.
Oh, totally.
And using the hands through the arms sets the shoulder in place. It helps assist that. So it's like a shaping and a sculpting action more than the primary driver. And the stronger the back gets, which takes time, then the more you can keep lifting up using primarily those back muscles. But you're going to have to use those hands early in the practice, early in your practice as a yogi, early in the practice on an individual day, perhaps. And then as you're body awakens to the practice as you get more and more warmed up and those back muscles start working in an appropriate way. Then they can start to pull the body away from the floor and you're not just pushing down through your hands.
Now, I've used this cue on the pelvis. You're trying to pull the pubic bone up towards the navel and you're trying to lengthen the tailbone a little bit. And I know you're going to give me some, it depends. I'm guessing there's a, it depends there.
Right.
But it's this idea that I want the front body to be lifting up, not just using the back of the body. Like if I can get the front of the body to say, okay, dude, we're going to have to come in here, come together and help lift up the spine away from the earth. And then the back body's going to pull the shoulder blades down and get us into a back body. But I need the front body to help this be a little lighter. Because if it's just open and sagging, then it just really actually feeds the dumping in the low back.
Right. I would agree with that. I think the position of the legs can help address the individual variances. So some people need to increase the arch in their low back. People who tend to round through their low back and they tend to walk around with more of a tucked pelvis, they'll go into this pose and they'll really grip the gluteals and they'll overuse their abdominals actually and then not get much of a lumbar curve and it will be very, very uncomfortable in their back. So for those people, I would say widen the legs, let the pelvis tilt forward. So let the pubic bone go back, opposite of what you said.
Okay.
Let the low back softly arch. And then let the arms support the spine. If you can hold the pose, let the back relax a bit into that arching. You're letting the abdominals go for that stiffer in the low back person.
Every time you mention that stiffer in the low back person, I think of a bunch of running men, older running men.
Exactly. Wide legs. Wide legs.
They cannot do that.
Well, it's interesting that the cueing is all to reduce the lumbar curve.
Right.
So hug in, zip up, more abdominals, lengthen through your tailbone. It's all to reduce the lumbar curve. And some people don't need to reduce the lumbar curve. They need to find it.
They need to find it. That's a really good point. So, although I am an older population person,
so am I
do love Sphinx pose.
Are we middle? Prep. We're middle population?
It depends on who we're talking to. I have a 98-year-old client and she's like, oh, you're so young.
Yeah.
So I like to hang around with those people who think I'm really young. But anyway, what I like to do with Sphinx pose is I like to do a little cat-cow in Sphinx pose. Well, on the inhale, you're tilting your pelvis forward, you're pulling your shoulder blades down the back, the belly's probably going to hang a little bit. And then on the exhale, drop the chin to the chest, pull the ribs up away from the ground, pull the core up away from the ground, even the pelvis away from the ground, and tuck the tailbone and get this cat pose, which is really hard. So it becomes like a really good core exercise. And then you inhale, lengthen, exhale, round. And then after you've got the whole front body lifted away from the earth, then I like to take the shoulders and the pelvis and bring them to neutral. And it's like, oh, this is why core plank is supposed to be hard. You know, because often I get in these planks, these core planks, and I'm not really getting that core workout that they've promised, but this is where I find it. So that's a fun way to play with it. And then whenever I do Sphinx pose at the beginning, I think it's a great place to learn the idea of trying to slither the ribs forward. It's so much easier to slither. Pull your forearms back and shimmy the back of the ribs and shimmy the sides of the rib and get that coming forward before you even think of the front of the ribs.
So you're basically going from a forearm plank, maybe with your knees down, to a Sphinx, if I'm understanding you correctly.
Well, no, I mean, they're two separate things. I totally didn't separate them. One, I was like, here's how I make Sphinx pose attractive for young people who like to kick their asses. One, I turn it into a core practice.
Yeah.
But two, separately as a prep, I love it because when you're just doing the pose, it's a really wonderful opportunity to play with the fact that you're taking the full rib cage forward. You know, it's really...
It's like a little mini vinyasa between those two shapes. The inhale is the Sphinx and the exhale is the forearm plank.
Oh, that would be cool. I'll do that today.
I think this is a version. I don't know if I'm really doing what you're saying.
You've created something new and that's how it always happens.
No. I think someone taught me this. So, but the basic idea though is then, alternating the contraction of the front body with contraction of the back body.
Yeah.
And then when you now go into the back bend, can you retain some of
core.
that contraction in the front body and feel how now you feel so supported and strong through the pose.
Yeah.
And then the forearms, I'm thinking there's so much more real estate to press down into versus just your fingertips or your palms. And you might even have greater access to the serratus muscle on the side of the ribs. You're controlling the scapular movement better, and you're starting to floss those shoulder blades up from the back of the body and then
Yeah.
around to the sides of the rib cage, which is extremely useful in
Yeah.
these belly back bends, is to gain that access.
Yeah.
This
That's
is the
true.
go-to that we recommend. This is the official mini Vinny of this episode.
Is the
Sphinx to forearm plank.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm teaching a vinyasa class today, and they're going to get a lot of those.
Nice.
So
Nice.
we'll
You could
have,
even flip them into a side forearm plank and then to the
ooh,
other side, and you get all the sides of the core
yeah.
working. And yeah.
Would you be on the side plank, and then, of course, we're not on our knees anymore. We've got our legs extended. Would you drop the hips down, lift them up? Do you like that thing?
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Yeah. For most people, yes,
Okay.
absolutely fine.
Cool.
Yeah, and good and important. My rib cage is sagging, my rib cage is not sagging. I'm supporting it and getting that side body to work. A lot of those abdominals are part of that lateral line of the body where side plank becomes really important to work those external obliques, which help
Right.
to narrow the rib cage, contain that rib flare, because that rib flare is going to come in where those low ribs pop forward. That comes into Cobra. That comes
Right.
into any pose for so many people because of the tendency of people to lean their rib cage back and flare those ribs.
Right.
So getting that side plank in knits those ribs in. Now those muscles are awake.
Yeah.
Feel them working in Cobra.
That's very cool. So I was prepping before this. I was down in my studio doing a bunch of cobras, and I did a bunch of Sphinx pose, and I did the one where you just got your hands by the side and you lift up.
Like a locust.
Locust.
Shavasana.
Yeah. I feel like we kind of got it, but in my body, it doesn't feel that simple.
Oh, no. This is, yeah, this is a lot. Just to get the legs to work, getting the head of the arm bone back is one of the very hardest parts of this pose. So should we
Let's
talk about
take
the
it.
legs first or the arms?
Well, let's talk about the legs because and I'm going to be wrong, but I feel like we can knock that one off.
I think we can knock it out quickly. But we'll have
So
some disagreements
first,
here.
they're active, they're not passive.
They're active. And in what way?
I think that they are working to extend back. Like you are trying to get as long as you can between the toes and the crown of the head. So you're reaching back actively. And then the question is, are you bunching up the sacrum or are you freeing the sacrum?
So now we're in the trenches with how do the gluteals work? Are
Yeah.
we using the
What are
upper
the glutes?
gluteals versus the
Oh.
lower gluteals?
Oh, wow.
Yeah. This is a whole thing.
Oh, we have the glute medius or minimus. You could get into
But
all
I'm not
sorts
even
of
talking about like the upper portion of glute max versus lower portion.
Okay, well, I would think
So right where the sit bone
the
meets
bottom
the-
of your butt.
Where the thigh meets the butt, Gabriel used to call it the
Thought.
thut.
Yeah, the thought. I feel like the thought's job is to lift up towards the ribs, and the top of the glutes can move down towards the heels. Am I wrong?
Well, I don't
Can
know.
you
They
control
just
your butt that much?
Right. I remember learning this, having already been a teacher for like 10 years, and I was sort of furious as that I had never been made aware there was a distinction between the upper gluteals and the lower gluteals. I think just what it is that people can start to figure out in a very simple way if they tend to dominate with their lower glutes. You're going to be a tucker.
Oh.
You're going to have a tighter posterior pelvic floor. You have been taught to lengthen through the tailbone. You can do that extremely well, and you're very proud of it. And you might have a straighter lumbar spine, so not enough curve in the low back.
Okay,
Tight
it
hamstring
sort of
people.
supports-
That's right. That's what that
Okay.
does. It pushes the head of the femur forward. It
Yep.
tucks the pelvis. It jams the tailbone area.
Yeah.
If we look at that person just walking into the class,
They're a cowboy.
they're going to have that flatter derriere.
Yeah, they're going to have a flatter derriere.
Right.
Yeah.
And then is it derriere or derriere?
It depends on where we have the mic.
What portion of French? Or is it Canadian French?
I guess
or
it's like, how are we using it?
how
How are we using it?
is it? The upper regions? Okay. Anyway, so then the fuller buttock person who has that more of an anterior tilt in their pelvis, their tailbone is like lifted.
Proud. It's a little proud.
It's high and proud as a happy dog.
Yeah.
Their tail's wagging and up. And then they have more of an arch in their low back. Their upper gluteals tend to be a little bit more dominant. And so they have harder access to lengthen through the tail
Yeah.
or contract those lower gluteals and to lengthen the low back by engaging the gluteals and pulling them down in
Yeah.
that downward direction, as you were saying. So I feel like each person can start to try to find a different contraction based on understanding their basic anatomy. Stand in front of a mirror.
Oh my God. We're going
Everyone
to touch our
knows
body again. We're going to touch and look at our body
touch
again.
and look. Oh, heaven forbid. So if you've
sure.
had a couple babies, you might be a flat butt. They call that mum bum in Australia, that flatter butt, because of the tucking that people do after carrying the weight of the baby in front. There's a reflexive tucking that happens.
Okay, we're just going to be happy about a mum bum. We're going to say that's really a beautiful thing.
No, we're not. We're going to say that
I'm
it
trying
is.
to embrace the fact that...
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. Yes, we all have to accept ourselves as we are. And yes, we have to drop the authoritarian uber structure of like, this is how a body should look when it's correct and good. And it can't look that way because then it's incorrect and bad. And that's not what we're saying with alignment. Here I'm saying this stuff is neutral. It's a strategy that was used because it helped you through pregnancy.
Yeah.
But now you have lots of sacral pain, and now you have constipation, and now
Right.
you have pelvic floor dysfunction, and
Right.
now your low back is aching, and now it's really hard to pick up your babies.
So we're just trying to
Say,
get
like-
the system set up so it can perform to its optimal ability.
This is just technique. I was listening to like Roger Federer's commencement speech, and at a certain point he was like, this is just good technique. It's not even metaphor.
Right.
Like, this is not about, are you a good person or are you not? What I'm interested in is, do you have pain? Can you improve your technique as a human being?
Right.
And if you don't want to, please don't.
Right.
I don't care. But if you do care, and if you're sick of not understanding why you're in pain, some of these techniques can help you improve your mastery of how you access your body. This is your body.
Right.
Gain some access over it. This is empowering. This isn't like you should look a certain way.
No.
This is more like, can we gain access to this so you're not suffering?
Yeah.
So you can do Cobra Pose.
Yeah.
Why should you hate this simple beginner pose?
Right. Or even maybe not Cobra Pose, but maybe you can get down on the floor and like grab something, like just moving through your life. We want to become the best mechanics of our system. And our system is a really, really cool, high-end machine. And it's lived a long life, and it needs to be cared for on a regular basis. And some of the parts might be a little old, but we can work around it because we're smart. Okay, so butt. We're coming back to the butt, upper butt, lower butt, and legs.
Access the lower butt by just a simple contraction at the hamstring and butt area, so that thud. So for that hyperlordotic person, they can put their hands there. That's a weak area for them to contract. It's usually underutilized. They learn how to contract there. They can practice lifting the one leg at a time
Yes.
from there in a locust variation. That's fine. And then learn how to maintain that contraction when they come up into Cobra. The upper gluteals will be accessed more from some of that abduction. So put a strap around the thighs, above the knees, push the thighs out, then start to feel that the upper gluteals snuggle the sacrum. So you can give some much needed stability to a sacrum that tends to counter nutate,
Right.
that goes along with that too much tucking, too much tailbone lengthening. The sacrum is overly broadened and widened and counter nutating. That's when we want to bring those gluteals in to support them.
Right.
For the hyperlordotic person, they're the opposite. Right, the sacrum is getting pushed forward with too much nutation. Those abdominals need to come in and help press the sacrum back.
Right.
The lower gluteals need to engage to lengthen the low back.
I've also felt like in my body, using the legs, I don't think it means squeezing the legs together. Because if I squeeze the legs together and squeeze my butt, and I'm not thinking upper or lower, I'm just thinking like that, I feel like it jams the sacrum. It doesn't give the sacrum room to just find its happy neutral.
Right. The sacrum is that triangular bone, the middle bone of the pelvis.
Yeah.
That feeling of compression there, right. The gluteals can definitely over contract that area.
So then this gets to the having the legs a little bit farther apart, not having them close,
Yeah.
like a fishtail.
Right. And so the more hyperlordotic you are and the more narrow hipped you are, you might be fine with legs together. For the majority, we might be okay with the legs hip distance apart. And then for some really tight people, legs wide can be like a liberation. Even retroverted hips. Did we talk about retroverted hips on
No,
another?
we haven't talked about
at all? I thought we did.
No.
There's some structural. Here's the bottom line. It doesn't matter. You don't need to know except to trust the wisdom of your body. That's the name of our next self-help book.
Yeah.
Trust the wisdom of your body, not just by deciding to trust it, by actually exploring it systematically and learning from it. So that means try the pose with your legs together. How does it feel? Try the pose with your legs hip distance apart. How does
How's
it
it
feel?
feel?
Try the pose with your legs wider than hip distance apart.
How's it
And if
feel?
you're more flexible in your low back, wide legs are going to feel terrible.
Yeah.
And the stiffer you are in your low back, it's going to feel more and more liberating to have the legs open.
Yeah, it's fun with the legs wide apart. My mind immediately goes to that hypermobile bow pose that you see on people where their legs are practically straight up to the sky. And
They have a right angle between like
yeah,
T12 and L1.
yeah.
And yeah, I mean it's all to our capacity. It's interesting that it looks pretty, that extreme things look pretty in the human mind, like extreme nature,
Yeah.
extreme things.
I wonder why.
And I wonder why as we get older, we're so grateful for like ordinary simple.
No, no. The wisdom of aging is that we get to
That's the name of our
appreciate-
third book.
Yeah, we've got so many self-help books. Everyone together, and we're going to burn them because that's my goal. Is I really want to have a self-help book burning, because
Yeah.
you know,
How about on the summer solstice, June 21st?
ooh, oh yeah,
We should release
Oh,
this
yeah.
episode on June 21st.
yeah, and I love that. I will send out a thing. We will do a book
Self-help book burning.
self-help book burning. Yeah, this is going to be fantastic, and you can do it wherever you are. And I
You
know,
all have to do Cobra Pose while you burn it.
okay, that's new level to
A
it.
great
My-
umbrella of snakes.
Okay, well, I like that, but my fire pit is right in the middle of gravel, so we could do this standing. What does this pose look like when you're standing?
Yeah. Hands to the wall is a wonderful place to finally get the legs to work in Cobra. You take your fingertips to the wall. I like fingertips to strength. Again, we're working on that. How do we get it out of the wrists? By increasing flexion. So instead of doing a flat palm and overextending the wrist, here we are using our fingers. It's tips of the fingers, as though you
Yeah.
had nails. You're click, click, clacking your nails. I call it like tarantula hands.
Yeah.
Or it's like you have an orange or a softball under each hand. So those fingertips are on the wall, and you engage them and lightly pull down, and then
Claw them down.
lift your heels and turn your sternum up towards the ceiling.
Yeah.
The legs engage in such a beautiful way. The pose is a lot more comfortable here for many. In fact, they're like, well, I don't even feel like I'm doing much of a back bend. But if you look at them, they're doing
It's-
a
you
much
can see
deeper
it.
one than they can do on the ground.
Yeah. Yeah. You know what I love to do, which is also getting at the back bend through the ribs, is I love to take a strap and I bring it from behind me forward. I catch the lowest ribs and then pull them up. Like I'm pulling them up in the front body. So I'm manually hoisting my ribs up. I'll do a little shimmy back and forth to try to get it. And then I've got these ribs hoisted up, and then I can broaden the collars and get the shoulder blades on the back. And I do that a lot too as a way to sort of feel what I'm trying to get at in camel pose. So I'll do that kneeling with a block between my shins.
I like it.
It feels so nice.
Yeah.
And that's kind of that's what I want from my Cobra. That's what I want I want my rib cage to get light and my waist to get long.
I think that's so interesting to have that strap at that bottom of the rib cage area, because the kidney area, and
Yeah.
a colleague was just telling me about like, oh, the kidney line and fear. And it's just interesting. There's a lot of fear around back bends, and you're stabilizing that area from there. And then you're extending while maintaining that support and that security there.
Yeah.
And if you were to show a yoga pose, which would be, how do you reduce fear? Or the most fearless yoga pose, it's not going to be a Paschimottanasana.
No,
It's
no.
going to be a back bend.
Yeah, it's going to be wheel.
Back bends are so interesting because they're not sustainable in the way that you can hang out in a forward fold for 45 minutes.
Right.
But you could, it's contraindicated.
Don't do it.
Don't do Cobra for 45 minutes. But it's interesting that back bends are sort of momentary. Like our fearlessness doesn't have to be, I'm not walking through life like no fear, like that brand of clothing.
yeah.
I'm not going to go through life like
No.
I'm fearless all the time. Not that we have to be fearful. And I think the back bends give us courage. They have this kind of, are we ready to talk about the effect?
Yeah, I guess we're going there right now.
That heart opening.
There's definitely a heart opening. And I always think it's like when we're in these back bends, it's just a really vulnerable stance. It's a stance that says, I'm open to life. I'm open to being hurt. I'm open to giving and receiving love. The other thing that's interesting about backbends too is I think there's the fear element. There's a lot of ways to get at it, but also I think people are very, very guarded about their spine and assume that it's vulnerable to breaking, like, or doing great harm, right? Like,
Yes.
I don't want to hurt my low back. I don't want to do this. It's like the risk seems disproportionate to the benefit.
Yeah.
I think with a lot of people with their spine.
Oh my God, I wish I could remember the name of a book I actually would recommend, which I
We won't
loved.
burn.
And it was about a group of extreme people and they know themselves as extreme. Many of them were people with addiction and they were managing their addiction through intense physical activity and healing their back injuries through backbends,
Yeah.
through significant pain, which we're not recommending, right? But it's just interesting to read about these experiences of going into sensation that can be scary. Because
Yeah.
these poses are so much about fear and understanding.
And listening and paying attention and having enough mastery that you don't bypass a warning sign. If you're moving in your body and all of a sudden there's a cautionary light or a cautionary response in your system, you can pause there and breathe and find out if you are getting an invitation to go further or if you need to come back and then approach it again, right? And that's why I love, and we'll have a whole episode, and we've talked about this, like talking about pain, talking about it as sensation, talking about it as sensation that's telling you to stop, sensation that's telling you that you're okay, sensation that's telling you, what is it telling you?
Right. Is this a sensation that you always have right before your back completely goes out? Okay.
Right.
Well, then if that's a very familiar landmark for you, if it's a sharp stabbing pain, if it's a narrow, small pain, if it elicits nerve reaction,
Right.
those are red lights.
Yeah.
Right. But like generalized muscular work through this area, it's counterintuitive, but the muscles have to work.
Right.
Some physical therapy methods that have become more popularized and more accepted are that for the back to heal, we have to work these muscles to the point of exhaustion. Whereas before we were so like rest.
Don't do anything. And
Don't do anything.
Don't do anything. And the whole back will be unsupported and the tissue will
just
be painful, sticky. It reminds me, so fascia, I'm going to give you a fascia visual. So I pulled up this lilac tree that wasn't doing very well and it was root bound, like nothing could get in there. So I had to spend all this time and untangle the roots and try to get them to hang down and get free. And that's what we do with fascia. Fascia is like that. It gets really stuck and rigid and then the hydration can't get there. The nutrients can't get there. There's lots of pain. We don't thrive. And that's why even when places have a lot of sensation, we want to have a relationship with them. We want to be able to keep giving it some love so that it can continue to be nourished and fed.
Right. I was even telling someone who's very important to me, who's in a place of fear, that you're in a thorn bush area, you're stuck in the brambles, like in the old fairy tales, they're 10 feet tall and 20 feet thick and you can't get through and you're just standing in there like, I'm okay. Like as long as I just don't move that much and I'll just distract myself. And I was like, you have to go through those brambles. The only way out of being stuck in this bramble bush of back pain, of fear in your life is to cut through those brambles and find a way out. And then I'm thinking the lilac tree that you mentioned is the name of a divorce support
I love
agency
it.
here in Evanston. And I was like, why is it called lilac tree? And she said, because the roots are so impenetrable, it's so difficult to remove and untangle a lilac bush.
That's so
it's
wild.
like getting a divorce. And so it's interesting. We don't divorce ourselves from our pain,
Right.
but we do need to say, like, you know what, there needs to be this separation. How do I
Right.
tease apart these entanglements of a relationship with whatever that's no longer serving me?
Yeah.
Because this is third chakra territory, right? It's the
That
low
is.
back.
That
it's
is.
the back side of the chakra. The belly is the third chakra. It's the self-realization. It's who do I
Yeah.
want to be in this world? And that's often pretty thorny, tangly, stuck in the brambles,
Yeah.
impeded from progress.
Right.
If anyone said to me, like, I don't do Cobra, my thought is it's going to be our job to find a way for this person to safely do
Cobra.
Cobra.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to touch back a little bit on the back pain fear. Pain is only information, right? And the spine is really pretty substantial, and you're not gonna just move it and have it shatter, right? So I want to invite people to move really slowly with a lot of awareness, see what's going on, find where the boundary is, and know that you're going to be safe.
Right. And people say, well, I bent over and picked up a piece of lint off the floor and my back went out. And it's not,
Has nothing to do with the lint.
it has nothing to do with the lint. It's the pattern of movement that you're doing over and over again when the body finally said, that's it.
Yeah.
I want a divorce.
Yeah. Yeah.
It wasn't because you didn't pick up the dry cleaning or like you didn't get the groceries like you said you would or whatever. It was 20 years of this shitty relationship that wasn't working. And this is what's interesting is be like, well, I don't need to backbend in regular life, right? But the back muscles hold us erect.
Right.
So when people say, I'd like better posture, everybody comes in and says,
Yeah.
I want better posture.
Okay.
Well, that's back strength.
Yeah.
I mean, some of that's abdominal strength for sure and just positioning, but a lot of it is we hold ourselves upright through back strength. And that's what the yogis really worshipped as understanding this consciousness or this connection to the divine or some sort of sense of spirituality through the practice was through a vertical spine.
Right.
And that back muscles help you to create a vertical spine that's not slumped forward into the rounded shape.
Exactly. And I think even if we just think of I'm sitting here working on my computer, my back is rounded, you can just know that the back muscles are stretched out. They're going to get a little bit weak. One of my favorite images is if I had a big rubber band that went over the crown of my head and under my perineum, and I'm standing up and the rubber band is taut. If I bring my head forward in space, the front of the rubber band's going to sag, so I'm not using my core, and the back of the rubber band's going to have to stretch out, right? So neither of them are optimally positioned. So I have to keep using the back of the rubber band to get it back in line so that I can lift up and the front of the core can be engaged too.
Right. Right. Because people double down on abdominal work when they have back pain. And sometimes that's really counterproductive where you actually do have to get on your belly and do some of these belly back bends. T.S. Little used to call
Yeah.
it the dental floss of yoga poses.
Oh, that
and
makes sense.
Not many people are like, hooray, let me spend a lot of time every day flossing my teeth twice a day. And if we did our belly back bends that often, our backs would feel probably pretty amazing.
If I floss my teeth as much as I do belly back bends, my teeth would be amazing.
All right, we got to talk about the arms.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, well, so the legs. Let's just sum it up because we had a big, long
We didn't even
journey
talk
on the
about
legs.
rotation in the
Oh,
legs.
yeah.
We just talked about the gluteals.
Yeah.
So you're pressing down through your toes. Now, should the knees face the floor? Are we doing internal rotation, external rotation?
I'm thinking it depends.
Neutral?
I think it
depends.
depends whether
So-
or not you're,
Yeah.
what's going on with your pelvis, what kind of mobility you have
Right.
in your low back.
So just experiment. Each rotation will have its benefits. Those upper inner thighs back. We talked about that in the downward dog episode. But if the kneecaps are facing each other, that's probably a little too much, which is going to cause you to dump into your low back more
Yeah.
for the types that overly arch their back. And it will also de-emphasize the work of your gluteals.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we're aiming towards a neutral pelvis here. Let's say I want to just make sure that this back bend's happening in my thoracic spine.
And that, no, it's happening through the whole spine to appropriate degrees. The low back has to arch.
Do something.
It is toning and arching. It can't not. If you were to try to make your low back neutral in Cobra, in pelvis neutral, I think you're going to be fighting with the shape of the pose.
Okay.
We don't want to just collapse into it. We
Okay.
want to engage your abdominals to reduce overarching and reduce too much anterior tilt. But you are back bending. The pelvis is not neutral. Neutral pelvis is for things like Tadasana, plank pose, downward facing dog,
Okay.
relative to the torso. But this is a back bend.
Got it. And as a matter of fact, I'm listening to this, I'm thinking, I need to work more with my partner, David, because he will give me the experience that you have with these kind of runner guys.
Yes.
Where you're like, oh, no, you have no ability to find that.
Right. A lot of men are not going to like these poses. They'll kind of muscle through it using their upper body strength. Everyone uses the parts of their body that are the strongest. And so there is a place for the upper body in this pose. But yeah, you have to do a lot of experimentation over the years
Right.
with cueing and feel the effect. How do you feel before you do the pose, just lying there on your belly? How do you feel when you engage cues? Then make decisions based on that. And how does it look is it accurate what I think I'm doing?
Right.
That's where we need our teacher or a mirror.
Right. And so I'm going to also suggest this would be a good argument for when you're teaching a vinyasa class to go through the sequence once in a slow manner where you can pay attention to this and then you can just refer to it as you're moving with your breath. So cool.
Arm
We've got the back body all figured out and we know what we're doing with the spine, right? So our arms, what are they doing?
So the belly back bends offer a great opportunity to work with shoulder placement and trying to get the head of the arm bone further back. So if you look at the circle of the outer shoulder, that's the head of the arm bone. When it's forward, it's ahead of your rib cage. When it's in line with the middle of the rib cage, that's neutral. And that would be great for many people just to get to there. And then you can go behind that as long as you're not getting pinching between the shoulder blades.
Got it.
Right. So how do we broaden the collarbones? How do we stretch our incredibly short and tight
Pecs
muscles? And how do we get the shoulder blade to allow us to bring the arm into position? Doug Keller introduced this bulldog cobra where your arms are out like goalposts or like the stance of a bulldog. When you're on the floor, you haven't lifted up yet. Your hands are underneath your elbows.
Yeah.
And so the main thing here is that when people first go into it, the shoulder will be quite low to the floor and the elbow will be high. So this is if your forearm is perpendicular to the floor and your upper arm is parallel to the floor. So then the student's job before they lift up into the pose, they've just got this arm position, draw the shoulder to the height of the elbows and don't even do the pose. Just work on the muscles in your upper back.
Pulling the shoulder head up.
Pulling the shoulder head back. And you get that happening in both arms. Then you could pull the fingers apart. You could have your hands flat if you need to. Some people can't do fingertips here. You could bring your hands much closer. These are all modifications. The fingers don't have to face directly in. They could face more forward just to make the pose more accessible. Because the traditional pose of Cobra, when the arms are alongside the body, it's extremely hard to get the head of the arm bone back here. You're just not optimally placed. The scapula is at an anterior tilt. You don't have any leverage to get the bottom tips to push the heart forward, as Jane says. And then when we push with the hands, we just tend to lift the head and the shoulders actually go down towards the floor more.
Right.
So by widening the elbows way out to the side, we start to move the shoulder.
It's like, I love it. It's just basically you're creating an awareness in your body of what you're trying to accomplish. So then when you're in a different position, you can find it better because you know what it feels like.
Right. And you can then eventually, throughout that practice or even in it, then eventually hug those elbows in and see if you can keep the shoulders on the back.
Yeah.
I do like this pulling backwards through the fingertips or through the hands. Now, that is going to make your low back contract more.
Right.
So for those types who have too much contraction and tension there already, that they might not like that cue, but it does help to pull the rib cage forward.
Yeah. Another cue or a way that helps me get students into the position Sarah was just talking about is I'll have them lay down on their face and I have them bring their arms out to a cactus. And then I say, where your elbows are, lift your elbows up and bring your fingertips under there in that location. So it's just a nice way
to get into
to get that. Yeah. And I was also playing with this, take the arms out long in front of you, a little bit wider than your shoulders. And the same thing. It's like you find your core, but then you pull the elbows back, like you get into it that way.
Yeah, you get those triceps to work. You even get the lats to work, which can help people who need more contraction in their low back, who need to engage that arching. That's a great way to help that happen.
Yeah.
Neck position?
Oh, neck position. Yeah, neck position. The neck is a beautiful thing. It's just a continuation of the spine, and you want it to look and feel like a continuation of the spine. It just continues on with that curve. And the head is like a very big period point at the top of that, right? So you want your head centered over your spine, and you want your spine to move long on all directions, really. We don't want to bend at the back of the neck. We don't want to drop the chin down and shorten the front of the neck. We want all of the neck to be long. And I've actually done this too, where you take the strap underneath your ribs and you hoist your ribs up. You want to be really not aggressive with this, but I also like to take it underneath the skull and hoist my head up. It's 12 or 13 pounds. Let your neck get a little bit of length in it. The head is going to feel the lightest when it's centered over the spine when it's held in balance. Can I get the neck longer? Imagine you've got the cat grabbing you right at the nape of the neck and lifting that up as you then tilt the gaze up. I want it to just be the continuation of this beautiful curve, right?
Yeah, it's all elongation, and we get into trouble if people just take the head and tilt it back on the neck. You're just hinging right at C1,
They
C2.
look up and they bend
They
the back
crank.
of the neck.
You can take 3 fingers to the bottom of your skull at the top of your neck, and that ring finger is right at the base of the skull. You shouldn't be able to feel the sticky points of the spinous processes pushing back into your fingers.
Right.
Below those 3 fingers, you're going to feel the sticky stegosaurus plate bits sticking out as they should. And if I were to tuck my chin too low, now I can feel those bits pushing back into my fingers. Now I've lost my cervical curve, right? And then if I just crank it back, there's a lot of tension there. I've increased the curve too much. There's not even space there for my fingers. So we want to maintain that 3-finger space.
Sometimes I'll have people in a Sphinx pose and I'll have them experiment, like we've been talking about what feels good. Like, lift up your chin. How does that feel? Feels really crappy.
Don't do that in Cobra.
Don't do it. Yeah. And then drop your chin and see what happens to your shoulders. It's not going to serve you.
It's a crappy sensation versus a working sensation. There's all sorts of discomfort that we're all managing all the time. And so we have to sort through the 52 card deck of sensations that we might be feeling throughout a yoga practice. So we can just say, this feels crappy when I dump in the back of my neck or I dump into my back, but that's really different from when my back muscles work.
Yeah.
So how can I distinguish between those two kind of negative sensations? I don't like the feeling of those muscles working necessarily. I certainly don't like the feeling of the pinch.
Okay, so this is another thing I do to activate the neck muscles. I'll lay down on my belly. We're in a prone position. I'll take my hands behind my head with my face flat. I bring my hands behind my head. And then on an exhale, I simply elevate my face. I don't lift my chin. I don't do anything. And then I lower down. And I do like 10, maybe 20 of these. They're basically neck push-ups. I'm trying to strengthen the neck flexors. And then you get to feel what the neck feels like when it's using the back muscles.
Therapeutic applications.
There's a ton of therapeutic applications for this.
But even in a general group class, I'll invite the people who are very hyperlordotic to fold their blanket into a long position and place it underneath their belly.
Yep.
And maybe even going onto the hip points, as it helps to give them a little posterior tilt that's very difficult to access.
Yeah.
And then that's just taking the place of sufficient abdominal strength. From there, you still engage the abdominals and lift up, but it gets rid of that pinching and compression. It's also great if someone has anterior listhesis, so one of their vertebrae is sliding forward.
Yeah.
And then doing Cobra could be very contraindicated for that person unless you have sufficient support there.
Yeah.
They still need back strength because the muscles of your back stop the vertebrae from diving too far forward. They need to strengthen that, but it might just slide out like a Jenga tower thing.
Right.
So use that blanket.
Well, I like to use this pose all the time, and I just scale it way, 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 way back.
Yeah.
So maybe it's standing on the floor. Maybe it's just getting that sense of lift, hoisting the ribs. Just that sense of the ability to start strengthening the back body and opening the front body is really lovely for so many people.
Agreed. One last thought on this would be start with a massage ball or tennis balls, but roll out the tight low back muscles, the tight thoracolumbar fascia, all of the tight structures, get into the waist, get into the gluteals a little bit, then do your back bends. You're like, oh, this feels a lot better because I'm not filled with trigger points and knots back there. Because no matter how good your alignment is, if you're riddled with knots in the low back area, these aren't going to feel good.
Well, cool. That sounds great. Okay. So we have got this amazing pose that is offering us a beautiful curve throughout the spine, and it's just lovely. And it uses a lot of strength in the back body. It also uses some supporting strength in the front body, and it offers you a counter pose to how we live our life. It's also a pose that is life affirming, right? It's life affirming.
It's fear banishing.
Fear banishing.
Unless you're a fearful person, then you should just try to believe in yourself more.
Join us at the book burning. Anyway, I think that's a wrap on Cobra. Well, thank you guys for joining us, and we will see you next week. And we're going to be taking on, do we know what we're taking on?
No, we haven't talked about it. We have to get like Warrior 2. We have to do something really standard and basic.
Okay.
Because we're in our fundamental pose series. Warrior 2
Tadasana is the basis of everything, but we haven't gotten to that. No, we're not going to. We're having a fight about that.
That'd be too boring.
She thinks it'll be boring. I think it'll be thrilling.
Anyway, write in. Let us know which one we should do next.
Give us your input. So this has been so.
No one's going to vote for Tadasana.
I'm going to go get a bunch of people. I'm going to get them all. We're going to vote for Tadasana
over and over again. Spam that Tadasana button.
So this has been such a treat. I love digging deep into these poses with you, Sarah, and I hope you guys are enjoying it too. We will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.